Hi, this is a video about Roddrick Keith Johnson, who died on January 25th, 2010. He loved torment, and his friends loved him. They loved him so much that they wanted us to know about it. They pledged a memorial for him in torment, a remembrance in the Valley of Dead Heroes. But he's been dead 3 years, I said to them. What was so special about him? Over the course of a half-hour conversation, they told me. Now, a half hour isn't much time to summarize a life, but it's enough to show its flavor, to recall its joys and heartbreaks, and to paint a picture of the person who has passed. And I hope to do justice to his story here. And I apologize if it seems like I'm reading this from a script, but this is important, and I want to do it right. I've been putting this off for a while because confronting the power of grief is never something to be undertaken lightly. But when we're discussing a game that is about the legacy we leave, grief is, and it must be, a primary object. Because a legacy means something more than sadness. We can recover from grief. A legacy is about what we leave behind, and though we feel the loss of our loved ones daily, we can use their passing as a foundation to make a better world. Those who have died don't need to be famous to make a difference in the lives of those who love them. So, born on February 18, 1975, to Harold Keith and C.J. Johnson. He was an imaginative kid. His mother said that he always wanted to be one of the characters from the shows that he watched. The Incredible Hulk, Luke Skywalker, Spider-Man. Enough so that he'd put together homemade costumes and act out those characters sometimes for days on end. He turned this passion into gaming, both tabletop and computer. He was a Torment fan, of course, a 3rd edition gamer, both into Madden and Jagged Alliance. But he didn't conform to the gamer stereotype. He was also a football player. A jock, if you will, a naturally talented athlete who played both middle linebacker and right guard as number 56 in high school. He was a member of the shot put squad for track and field. He was strong, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But that doesn't capture him either. He was a writer, too, designing adventures for his friends, comic book mashups for his own entertainment. He worked on a variation of Ultimates before Ultimates ever even came out. He invented his own detective stories with a character named Blake Frost, a character he transported to RPGs and back again. And like all of us gamers, he had a twisted and occasionally wicked sense of humor. His gaming buddies told us that Rod had a battle name for every occurrence. For instance, the Battle of Interrupted Slumber, in which, during a nighttime watch, Rod declared that a friend's dwarven character was marching around the party's camp declaring, "These wagons are secure! You may resume your restful slumber!" And then, of course, this battle was followed shortly by the Battle of Ambush Beatdown, about which the less said the better. But the thing that set him apart from so many of us was his fierce and unwavering loyalty, his desire to stand up for the underdog and to stick by his friends. They told us a story about how 8 people in a bar came for one of his friends, in a typical barroom misunderstanding. But in a blink, Rod was there to back up his pal. Still wasn't much of a fair fight, but as Rod said, "Yeah, there's 8 of them and 2 of us. But that's better odds than 8 on 1. It didn't matter to him if they won or lost. What mattered, to Rod at least, was that they would go down together. For luckily, they managed to bluff for long enough that the bouncers showed up and diffused the situation. But the important part is that Rod didn't care if he got hurt, if it meant that his friends didn't. He knew he could take it. And here's what made Rod so special to his friends. He was a man who transcended groups. He was at home anywhere with anybody and made everybody feel at home with him. He took people for who they were, for what they were, without judgment, and without basing his reactions on their appearances. And for a man who looked like he might have been a brawler and a bruiser, he was an unexpected thinker of depth and clarity. His friends said he was the one person you could count on, no matter what, more like a brother than a friend. And it's to that memory that they've pledged a monument for their fallen friend. It's that memory that we're proud to keep alive. A legacy of friendship, family, loyalty, and humor. Roddrick Keith Johnson died on January 25, 2010, of prescription error. Rod considered himself the people's champion, and everyone who knew him agrees. We hope to keep his spirit with us that much longer. It's a legacy worth remembering. Rest in peace, Rod.